Welcome to the Profit Talks podcast, hosted by the Orange County Inland Empire SBDC Network, funded in part by the U.S. Small Business Administration and the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. This show is the go-to resource for business owners seeking empowerment, education, and resources to succeed. Join us as we connect you with experts, share the triumphs of fellow entrepreneurs, and reveal the wealth of assistance available to you today to level up your business. So let's go. Let's dive in and learn more. Well, I guess I should say attention, everybody out there, because we're going to talk about Veterans Affairs and veterans contracting and other sorts of things. I got to be on my best behavior because we got a veteran, a real live veteran with us here. He was a drill instructor. He's 20-some years in the Marine Corps. Welcome, if you will, our guest today, SBD consultant, Tony, ton of times we practice that. Troy Small, right?
Yes. Good morning, Paul. How are you today?
We started this interview, I kept saying his name wrong. I don't know what I got, it's in my brain. So, Troy Small, thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks, Paul. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Sorry to see. I was trying so hard. You were a drill instructor. You were lots of things in the Marines for 20-some years, right?
I was. I served 3 years as a drill instructor. So a part of my career from 2000 to 2003, I served as a Marine Corps drill instructor in San Diego, California at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot.
I only have to look at you to know the way you sit, square, solid, and just no nonsense. I mean, I'm sort of slouched and looking around and, you're like, welcome. How are you? You have that presence.
I've tried to get rid of it. I can't. I just can't get rid of it. I've tried. Trust me.
It's this square, solid, totally focused right here in the moment on, totally the frame and everything where you carry yourself. Well, congratulations. Thank you for your service. Let's start with that and all the years you did this. Why Marine? Why did you become a Marine a million years ago?
Yeah, well, it seems like a million years ago. I joined the Marine Corps back in 1989.
Oh,
and
long time.
It was
a couple of wars ago.
A couple of wars ago. Yeah, and then I've been in a couple of those too. So, back in the early 90s for sure. But I always, something about the Marine Corps, I think it was the hardness of the service, right? It's had the representation to be like one of the hardest services. And so I felt like as a young man back then, that if I wanted to go to the military, I wanted it to be the hardest one. And
That's right.
That was one of the main reasons.
No soft jobs for you. Booyah, booyah, what do I say?
And I didn't want to go out in the middle of the ocean. And I'm not a big fan of airplanes either, really. And so nothing against the Army, but so it's like the Marine Corps is kind of that little off the beaten path type of service, and I'm an off the beaten path kind of guy, so it kind of fit.
Where were you from? What area?
Originally from St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. And had anybody in your family served in the military?
Oh, absolutely. We are a veteran-rich family, many members in the Army, and several of us from the Marine Corps as well. So I've had cousins and uncles who served in the Marine Corps prior to myself. So that also has some influence on it as well. But we are a veteran-rich family, and we're proud of that.
Well, we're glad that there are those out there. I'm a veteran chicken family here. I don't know, not really. My dad was a bomber pilot World War II, so he wasn't a chicken. But I was always kind of intimidated by the military and all that. That's a commitment. You're putting your life at risk, and you're serving your country and all these great honorable things. But you can't sort of get over I don't want to do this. I want to go home now here. Yeah, this is a serious commitment. So you took it seriously, and you did a pretty serious job. You told me you were like a machine gunner or something, a 50 caliber machine gun here.
Yeah. When I joined the Marine Corps in 1989, and shortly thereafter, I went to infantry school and machine gunner school, basically here in Camp Pendleton. And so my primary weapon was the 50 caliber machine gun and the Mark 19 machine gun. So as a heavy machine gunner, there's two guns, and those are the heavy guns.
Yeah, right.
And so you call it heavy machine gun platoon. And so that's where I started my career. The first 4 years of my career, I was an infantryman. I went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm in 1991 as a heavy machine gunner. I was actually a team leader. And I saw combat in Desert Storm in the Battle of Kafchi.
Wow.
Received my combat action ribbon and everything that goes with that. I went through the oil field fires. I have pictures
Yeah.
of that. Like so,
Wow. When they set,
all of
when
those
Saddam
things.
set the oil on fire, we can't have them, you can't have them, and we're going to make this
Yes.
big mess. And yeah.
Yes, and that was quite a scary situation because you could, if you put your hand in front of you, you could barely see your hand
Wow.
because of the smoke and I mean, in the middle of daytime, it looked like the middle of night. So it was
Yeah.
very, very interesting stuff.
All right. So this is your career. Hoo-ha. Full gung-ho, serious, hardcore machine gunner. And then life takes a pivot. All of a sudden they say, we don't need so many machine gunners anymore. We really need some people over here in admin. And you're like, are you kidding me? I didn't make this up. You said you're a grunt. You're like a real grunt turned into an admin. And grunts hate admins, don't they? These are the
Yes.
pencil pushers that sit behind desks and stuff.
We call the admin people pogues, and
Pogue, okay.
and I'm a pogue now. So, and that I think there's a story behind that term, but basically, that's what you call administrative people, and so at the end of the Gulf War conflict back then, as with most military conflicts, there's usually a drawdown of the force,
Yeah, right.
and they said, hey, you can pick from these three new jobs, or you can get out.
Yeah,
Well, I was Marine by then. I was all in, at
right.
least at that time. So I didn't want to get out. So I decided to change jobs to supply administration. I did supply administration for 1 year. And the reason why is because when I changed to my new command, I learned about purchasing and contracting.
Mhm.
And at that time, you had to be a supply administrator before you can change jobs to purchasing and contracting, and you had to be in supply for
Were
a
you
year.
open to this? Was this intriguing, or was like, oh man, just get me out there. I want the action. I'll be in the front line. Now you want me back there pushing pencils and figuring out numbers and contracts and spreadsheets and stuff here. That doesn't seem like you, or at least what you went in for. Was that a
No,
hard?
honestly, Paul, it was all me then. I mean, because it was exciting because my first duty station as a person was Marine Security Guard Battalion in Quantico, Virginia. I was working for the headquarters battalion.
Right.
And in the role as supply, I was supporting the Marine Security Guard detachments around the world. Right. These are the Marines that guard our embassies in
Embassies,
all the
right? So I
different
think of,
countries.
yeah, right.
Exactly. Right. So it was a very, very neat experience for me. And I was like, well, I'd rather do that. I'd rather buy them volleyballs and
And equipment and gear and everything.
equipment and gear for life enhancement, right? Particularly if they're in a not so good country.
Yeah.
And obviously we purchased them other more sophisticated stuff as well. But it was just a more exciting job to have. The purchasing contracting job is much more exciting than supply. So I was not a dumb Marine. I didn't eat too many crayons as a Marine. Right? Just think about crayons and Marines. But I knew mom raised a smart kid, and I recognized right away that I was like, hey, I can do this contracting thing whenever I decide to get out of the Marine Corps. So, because at that time, I still didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I
Yeah,
still was
right.
I was just a Marine, and
Right.
like, but I was like, ooh, this is a real job that I can really do. And fast forward, kind of here I am. I'm living that dream.
Living
I
the
had
dream.
that goal, and I'm living the dream
We're
right
going to
now.
get you there, but I want to take one more
Sure.
step on this journey here. So you come in as a gung-ho young guy. You're a 50 caliber machine gun operator. You're on the front lines. You're in battle. The battle's over, and they pivot you into supplies, which doesn't sound so exciting. And then you got into contracting, and that seemed more interesting and more had to use your brain more and think more and be more organized and stuff here. So you got into that. You just said something that very interesting. I want to touch on this for a minute because we've done lots of shows on this station, lots about veterans through the years. I myself am not a veteran. My father was a veteran in World War II, but I'm not. I'm of that 60s era. We didn't think of military service was not one that we instantly gravitated or thought about. And it was intimidating. You're going to go fight and in combat and everything and take orders and stuff. I don't know if I'm an order taker. I'd rather be the order giver or something here. Anyway, so we hear all the time how people who have very good jobs, very complicated jobs, very essential jobs, contracting, running a nuclear submarine, missile guidance, these sophisticated things they teach you how to do. I don't care where you come from. If you qualify and they think you got it, they'll show you how to do these amazing, incredible things. And look what we accomplish as a service, as a country. We win wars, we keep the peace, we supply a force around the world. It's a pretty amazing organization. But nobody ever thinks, what am I going to do with that when I get out? So I did missile guidance, and now I put that on my resume, and I show up, and they go, well, we got no missile guidance jobs here. We got sales jobs. We got a manufacturing job. We got a something job. We don't have any missile guidance people that we need here. And veterans struggle, I hear it over and over again, trying to transfer the skills they acquired into skills that are available to them on the outside. You just said, you thought ahead and thought, maybe if I do get out, when I get out someday, this is a job that could transition to the outside world. Was it that clear to you at the time that this could be a path forward, or was it just a cool thing to try next?
It was absolutely clear that it can be a path forward because as a purchasing and contracting person or a contracting officer, you're engaging with small business owners.
Right.
So you're engaging with people like you and I who are small business
I
owners,
need so
right?
many of these. I got to find
Right.
this at the right place. They got to be at a certain place at a certain time. I mean, it's a
Right. So I
sophisticated.
recognize right away that, well, there's an element that could be there. You could, I could get my own contracts with the government, or I could help other companies that are trying to work with the government. So
Yeah.
that part I recognize right away that, oh, there's something there that I could parlay some role with the knowledge that I have. And to your point, one of the things that I did when I retired, and this is not something that you're taught. I gleaned this is that you receive a transition assistance manual, right? There's a book and it talks about
A book.
resume.
Here's
It's a book,
something.
exactly.
Take the
Here's a
book.
book, right? So what I did is I took to heart the part about taking your military skill sets and rewriting them in such a way that it's in like civilian language and not
Yes.
military speak.
Right.
That's what's important because as veterans, we have a habit of talking like veterans, speaking like
It was a
military people.
J6 level 2 or something. Yeah. And like, what the
Right.
heck
And,
is
and
that?
if you're another veteran, you know right away. But if you're not, if you're a civilian gentleman like yourself, you're like, what are you talking about, Troy? I don't know what you mean.
Exactly.
So it's incumbent on me or the veteran to be able to take the skill sets they have as veterans, particularly those special skills, because we go through schools that no civilian will go through
I'll bet.
simply because they're military schools. So there are special knowledge that we all have in our own right that many folks won't have, particularly because they will never go to those schools that we had.
Exactly.
And so what you have to do is you have to be,
You talk about sophisticated engineering, sophisticated organizational structures,
Right.
supply and logistics and movement and large people, and this is a sophisticated operation that's and nobody comes in knowing how to do any of this stuff. They're great. They excel at teaching you how to do this stuff, and it's life or death. It's important, so they make sure you really get to do this. I'll tell you what else I hear all the time about veterans, because I hear this come up. I hear on my side, business owners like myself say, well, I'd love to have a veteran, I suppose. They seem hardworking, and I'd love to honor what they've done and let's support it, but I don't know what to do with them. I don't understand this and how this applies to what I do. I don't know how to translate skills. And what I hear over and over again is there's certain basic skills that you guys acquire that I didn't. I may have gone to college and had all these things. I took all these courses, and that seems like it has some application on the outside, but it's just book learning. It's not practical knowledge. You not only had practical knowledge in field doing stuff, you got teamwork. You know how to work as a team. You got leadership skills. I never had any leadership skills when I was in my 20s or whatever here. You have a can-do kind of attitude, adapt or die, never say no, these kinds of things that we're hungry for. Most young people, they shrug and they say, I don't know, like my daughter, I don't know how to do this. I quit. I give up. It's not the same determination. It's not the same teamwork. It's not the same leadership thing. They teach you a lot of other people skills along the way that I don't think we appreciate or veterans know how to explain to other people either. Am I overstating that?
No, you're spot on. I mean, you said a couple of things there. Number one is that business owners don't know how to interact with the veterans, and then we established prior to that veterans are having a hard time translating to business owners what they can do.
Exactly.
I think the key thing in what you also said is that as veterans, there's some common things that most of us have.
Right.
I mean, as a group, most veterans are going to have these. Obviously, you have your 10% that may not, right? You have that in everything. So
Always,
you
but
have to disregard that.
because
But
these skills are important for an organization like the military to function. You have to play well as a team. You have to learn to follow orders. You have to learn to adapt in the field. You have to learn to think through problems and lead others to follow you in the most difficult crisis situations imaginable here. These are skills that I didn't pick up in college. I didn't go through those kinds of life learning lessons. I sat and studied a book and I got a grade, and then I came out with, gee, I have a whatever. I'm an electrical engineer now or something here. On paper, I am.
You know, it's interesting. I think what we're laying out is the solution, and at least part of it, which is veterans bring leadership, project and program management, teamwork, and a lot of intangibles that people don't recognize or
Yes.
speak on readily, but they are required for business success. And so if you focus your task on finding people who have these leadership traits and leadership principles, right, which is what veterans will bring as a group, a whole, as a group, then the business owner can teach them the aspects of their company
I
that they
can
need
teach
that
you
veteran
about our product and
know,
how to sell
right?
it. I can't teach you that attitude of get up early and go, charge the hill and work well with
Exactly.
others and find a way around obstacles. I can't teach you. Those are intangible things. Those are qualities I look for in individuals. I can teach you the specifics of this product or how to make this machine do what it's supposed to do or whatever it is I'm looking for. It's that intangible that I'm looking for. And yet we go towards the paper skills. Well, you're certified in this, you did this, you got a course in this. Okay, I guess you're qualified, but you may not fit into the organization. You may not be a self-starter. You may not work well with others. All these other things that I'm frustrated and I'm trying to find somebody.
Right.
Veterans have that start.
It's interesting too, because, just in my own personal business, just in various projects, what stands out a lot is playing well with others.
Yeah.
Like there are people who review and one of the first things they're looking at is how does the person fit in with the team first, let alone their skill sets. Like,
Right.
okay, I see what's on the paper. That's fine. Okay, I'll ask them about that.
Yeah.
But I want to know how they're going to interact. Like, are they going to motivate the team or are they going to bring the team down? Many and most veterans are kind of motivators, and we're used to being in crappy situations, quite frankly.
Yeah, right.
I just posted something about we were playing chess in Fallujah, Iraq, and this dusty office, and I was getting ready to get on the bird to go to outside. So this is a horrible. I mean, I've been there for like 10 months now, but I'm happy. I'm posting this like, I was happy then. I'm happy now. I had a smile on my face then. I have a smile on my face now. We're used to not so good situations, meaning we can help businesses and companies.
You thrive in adversity. You thrive in difficult situations here, and you're taught how to do that, and that's what allows you to succeed in these skills. I mean, the military seems to be very good at creating those kinds of people. You all carry yourself differently, as I was kidding you about. You all have a certain approach to business. You don't seem to reflect what I say. I don't want to sound like an old guy, but lazy kids coming out of college. Okay, where do I do? I'm going to do as little as possible. Get me as much as I can. If I don't like it, I'm going somewhere else. It isn't there isn't that commitment to the team or the commitment to the project or commitment to the company. It's a commitment to me. There's a lot there that I just don't think gets picked up.
Commitment is a leadership trait.
Yeah. Commitment to leadership. There you go.
And veterans usually commit to their contracts, right, with the government. So there's an element of trust and loyalty already there in the sense of the individual.
Right.
It's just they just have to buy into the organization that they're going to next, and that's where the small business owner comes in. And if they're looking for good people, I would say veterans is one of the first places they should start.
I think so. And yet I confess, in all the years I've had businesses, I don't think I've ever hired a veteran. Not because, and maybe there's some fear, oh, gee, they're going to have post-traumatic stress or difficult things, or there's a certain uncertainty of what, have they gotten disabilities or been damaged in this difficult assignment they've done. But more so, I just don't know what to do with them. Oh, Corey, you ran a missile gun. Ray, you shot a 50 caliber machine gun. I never did. Hooray, you ran a missile guidance system. I can't even imagine how to do that and to move the battery around and to fire it and position it and do all these things. But what the heck does that have to do with what I'm looking for? It's that translating on both sides. All right, so enough on that. You came out of the military. Eventually you did leave. And I think most people, even after 20 years, or how many years were you there? 20 years? And you sort of
20
like
years.
20 and out. And now it's time to move on and next phase here. And you had an easier path because you could see this transition to contracting. Lots of companies want to get contracts with the government. They don't know how to do that. It's just, I kind of believe it's way more difficult than just filling out a bid sheet and saying, I'm here, we're happy to do this. So you taught people how to do that. You worked for a government contractor yourself, I guess, originally?
I did, yeah. I retired in August 1st, 2009, and began working for a company down in San Diego, a defense contractor. I won't name them, but
Yeah,
they're
I wouldn't know
good
who they are
company.
if you named
Yeah,
them. I wouldn't know.
yeah, good company. And so I worked for them for 3 years supporting the Navy. So that company had a contract with the Department of the Navy to provide acquisition and contracting support.
Okay.
Well, and so I learned about the company through a job on like monster.com or something like that online, Indeed or whatever was out at the time.
Right.
I applied for the job and I got it as a contract manager, as a consultant to the Navy. I worked for them for 3 years working on a major contract. This contract was called Automated Digital Network Systems, ADNS.
Whatever that means. Yeah,
Right.
you got to explain all that.
Right. Network racking for ships and submarines. So ultimately, the contract was awarded, and I went and worked for the government to help manage the contract because I had a lot of knowledge about the contract in the pre-award phase. And so it was
So
made
there's
sense
people
for
on
me
both
to,
sides. Somebody within the private enterprise has to learn how to get this contract and then how to interface and speak that lingo and understand and handhold it through the life of that contract and be the liaison between the company and that. And then the reverse. Somebody in the military's got to say, why can't they get this? Why can't they understand what we're looking for, these stupid civilians here? And so go explain it to them here. And then you have
well, to your point, that's where I come in. Like, right, the
Right.
reason why I went from being a contractor and helping the government, because when the contract was awarded, the government was like, hey, would you want to come and work? Because we need someone to manage this, and you're like the most knowledgeable person
What do you
here.
mean? They promised
So,
that there was
there
going
you
to be
go.
there on Tuesday, and now they're saying it'll be Thursday. Our guys go out. The ship's floating. We can't wait 2 more days. This is do or die, and they're in business. Okay, so we're a couple of days late. There was a snowstorm. We'll get it to you when we can here. No, it can't work like that. I remember a guy that I worked with years and years ago. He was a real estate developer, and at that time I was building bars and restaurants. Another crazy thing I did, and and this guy was real gung ho. He'd been a jet pilot, a fighter pilot, and I showed up once late, as I was wont to do. 10 minutes, not real late, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20. What big deal? He chewed me out one end or the other. He said, "Son," he was older than I was. "Son, I learned when I show up late, people die. I don't show up late." In fact, and we used to have another guy, Greg Rass, used to come in here all the time. He ran the Marine wing at El Toro, and now he's the mayor of Mission Viejo. And he came in to do an interview, and I tell people, all right, show up like 10 minutes early so we can get ready like you did. And you did what he did. He showed up 20 minutes early. And I said, Greg, I said 10. He said, when somebody says you show up 10 minutes before, you're late if you show up 10 minutes before.
That's it. Like, it's usually like it's 15 minutes. It's like if you're not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late.
Yeah. So I was
That's
like,
the Marine rule of
wow,
thumb.
there's a whole different mindset going on here. Now, so you transitioned, you're running contracts, and eventually opened up your own company to help others find this as a consultant. Obvious story, obvious path, successful journey. What led you to the SBDC? Why help other veterans find and take advantage of all these special programs to help to award government contracts to veterans?
Yeah. I mean, what happened is I ultimately resigned from my work with the Navy in January 2018 to strike it out on my own. I had saved up about 6 to 8 months of income, and
Right.
I was kind of ready to go. I thought I was. It was rough. It was rough for a while.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what happened is, when my goal was to do contracting somehow to help small business owners and particularly veterans,
Right.
because I know the skill sets that veterans have.
Right.
And there are veteran contracting programs. So there are programs in place on behalf of veterans because we have served. And so
And
what I
again, this
did,
isn't a gift to, as many veterans. This isn't like, well, gee, you get ahead. You're lucky you. Hey, we put our lives at the line. We made a commitment, and this is the incentive that got us to come in. This is the return for that effort and work. We've earned these benefits. Why do so few veterans take advantage of them? I hear this all the
I
time.
think it's because they're not aware of the process per se, and this is definitely not this is a benefit. This is a payment for service that has been rendered.
Better way
And
to say
so,
it. Yes, exactly.
and on top of that, it helps our country. The more small business owners we have, the stronger our country becomes. The less we have, the weaker we are, right? Because there's less resources, there's
Right.
less ingenuity and all of that. But ultimately, my goal was to help veterans and small business owners. And back in 2022, shortly after the pandemic, I was chasing contracts. Basically, I was monitoring, and I found a contract with Riverside County. Riverside County had a contract out for business consulting services for Coachella Valley SBDC.
Wow.
And so I looked at that and said, hey, I can do that. And to the point what we're saying, it said business consultant, I'm a government contracting consultant. I'm like, well, government contracting is business,
Right.
right? And I'm dealing with companies that are in business. So that part, I can make the correlation of me being a business consultant. All I have to do is just take what I do and rearrange the way I think about how I deal with government
Right.
contracting and put it on
Reword it,
paper and
re-explain
reword
it.
it and re-explain it to the point that they're looking for. I do it all. It's just that I have to change my mind on how I
It's like
present
two
it,
different
right?
languages. You got to take
Two
it from
different
French and turn
languages.
it into Italian or something. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And on top of that, so what I did was I answered the basic mail per se. I said, here's the business consulting that I can do. But then I said, by the way, I have a specialty.
Mm.
I am a government contracting person. And I highlighted that in such a way that I felt was good for me. And obviously it worked, because I'm like, well, that's my lockout as a business owner. Like, my lockout is that I have a skill set in government contracting and everybody else does it. So if someone
A
is looking
lockout. I
for
never heard
that,
it explained that way.
right?
That's my lockout.
I
That's
do
my,
sales. I do sales as well in my life, but a lockout is something that you do, your company does, that no one else does
yeah.
or can do. And if you have a lockout, you want to use it. You want to highlight
Because
that
it
to your
locks
client,
everybody out. I'm the guy that's
right?
got it. I'm the only one
Because
that
you're
does
locking
this.
out your competition. So when you
Right.
say I have this, he doesn't or she does it, and the
Game
prospect's
over.
like, oh, game over. I want that. And so here we are. So not, I mean, it
Fascinating.
was multiple roles, but that's how I became here today. Is I submitted on the contract. Thankfully I won a role, and I'm here. And I didn't even know about the SBDC prior to going for the contract. And I started my company in 2017,
See,
and so
another
quite a
great
while
secret.
back.
No, well, all
And
these things out there, and we don't really understand how they work. All these government programs, the Small Business Development Center, funded by the SBA and the state of California and others, is here to assist the growth of small businesses. All they want to see is that you meet certain metrics, that you grew your sales and you increased your revenue and you added new people and you got new sources of income and other sources. If they can demonstrate some of these things, then they go back to the government and say, look, keep funding us. It's working. We're getting all this stuff out there.
Absolutely. I tell, if I could, Paul,
Yeah.
one of the things I say often is that, the biggest flex, like, and then put it in kind of slang terms, is to be a legitimate, basically formed company, is to be legit, to have your paperwork, which is not a lot. I mean, it's like a business license, get, your get a doing business
But
as
you
or a
might have to be
fictitious business name,
certified and some other
and
thing.
if you
Yeah.
want to have a LLC or S corp or what have you, your
Right.
your entity status, but and then just do all the other things that lead up to that, because the fact of the matter is that the government can want to give you all the money they want, but if you're not properly set up, you can't get it. They may say, in order to get this money, you have to be a California Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise. Well, if you did not register for the California Disabled Veteran Business
Exactly.
Enterprise certification, they could be standing in front of you with money on a platter, and you can't take it because
Can't
you don't
take it.
have that piece of paper,
I hear this even when it comes
right?
to the VA and certain just benefits you think every veteran would be taking advantage of. And I've literally had, we do another show with a veteran who helps other veterans in financial matters. He's like a financial advisor and he works a lot with veterans. And he said, first thing I tell him is, do you realize of all the benefits and stuff you qualify for? No. Do you know how to go get them? No. Are you even going to the VA and getting certain things that you probably should be getting or could be getting? No. And why? I don't know where to start. It's a maze. It's a labyrinth. I'm like, I'll bet. Because every time I go in and talk to the government about anything, not much less the military, paperwork, forms, and triplicate and this, and go to this line and do this, and oh, but this line wasn't filled up properly and this and that. It's a maze. When you go to giant hospitals, giant camp colleges here like at UC Irvine, everything it seems like it's just overwhelming the process, and you just quit.
Yeah, it does. And what I would submit to the veterans and those who are interested is that you can pretty much start with any veteran organization for what it is that you want to learn, and they will point you in the right direction. But more specifically, throughout our communities, there are veteran service organizations or veterans support offices. The real name is escaping me,
Right.
but what these are a nonprofit funded veteran centers. They're actually vet centers, actually is the
Right.
name, vet centers. These veteran centers are funded, they're funded either by the VA or through some type of nonprofit or both. And their purpose is to serve as a resource. So many of them will
Not
have
just show you the way, but
counseling
to
and
take you by the
therapists.
hand and walk you through this, whether it's the legalities of something you're going through, or whether it's a process you got to put in place to get certified in this, or to apply and meet certain criteria so that you can get these benefits and do things, or go back and track your records and all this. It is not an easy process, I hear over and over again, and you need somebody to help you. You can do it yourself, but it's a lot easier if you have somebody holding your hand and walking through it. That's what you've done with veterans working to, or business of working to get government contracts. Now you're doing it in addition through the SBDC to help veterans. Talk to me, how bad do they want to give this money to veterans? We had somebody in from the contracting center, and she was saying, Paul, they begging to find minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran business. They have a mandate to spread the wealth and to distribute it. And who shows up? The big companies who've always done this and know the process and already have a relationship. And so we're giving the money to the same people over and over again. And as you say, now we're relying on a handful of vendors. Maybe they're not as innovative. Maybe there's no competition or whatever. And we're not helping the economy by helping to start small businesses we all think is the engine for growth in this country. So all of those things, there's a motivating factor. How much of this money do they want to give to veterans? A lot of it.
A lot. I mean, depending on what level you're talking about, the federal government has their own goals as far as how much money they award to veterans. Now, at the federal government level, there's the program for service disabled veterans, but there's no formal program for just veterans. There is a formal program for veterans with the Department of Veterans Affairs. To the point, the federal government, I believe their percentage goal to award to veterans in general is 3 to 5% of all contract dollars. So every $100 spent, they want to spend $3 to $5 on a veteran
And
company.
how big is
Same
the,
thing with the
yeah,
state of California.
right.
They want to spend 3% of their dollars on disabled veteran business enterprises. And so the state of California actually encourages bidders on these contracts. They want them to partner with small businesses and veterans. That's where there's a new law out with state of California. I think like 25% of all dollars they want to go to small business owners,
That's
right?
what I thought.
And
It was something, it was astounding like that. Some
yes,
huge number. They want to go to small businesses, and the small businesses aren't set up. They don't know how to find this. They don't know how to walk through the process. They don't know how to fill out the forms. They don't know how to take all the different steps. It is a confusing jungle, and they quit. And here the government's saying, please, we want you to come. We want to give this money to you. We got to give some money to
yeah.
somebody. We want to spread the wealth. We want to support veterans and other groups of interest, special interest to us. And we want to thank you and reward you for all the service you're doing. But I can only put it out there. You got to figure out how to do it. And that's where you need somebody like our friend here to help.
Absolutely. This is where I come in and the SBDC. I mean, the resources are there. And one of the things I share is that the the government in general, whether it be federal, state, local, municipal, it doesn't matter. As you just stated, there's money on the table right now ready to go to small business owners and veteran business owners. The challenge right now is that small business owners and veteran business owners like me and my colleagues, we are not doing our part. We are not meeting the government where the government is meeting. The government is like, I got money, I put out programs, I put out laws, I'm telling my departments they must do this.
And we're all moaning the fact, COVID and cutbacks and inflation, right. My business is struggling and everything here. Yeah.
The business owners are not in position to take it. They're like,
right.
So it's like, well, if you take steps to form your business and get set up, you will learn about the next steps of things that are out there.
And where to go find these things.
And where to go find these things.
Because they're standing there with money, but you don't know the corner that they're standing on. And they're standing there waiting for somebody to come by that meets this criteria, and they'll hand you some money. But you got to know where they're at. You got to meet them where they're at. You got to show up at the right form and all this stuff. And you got to show up on time and on this date and at some place. And
you got to be in the game. I mean, and the game starts when you start your business, and you can't like not want to start your business because you're not making money, or I'm not going to start it because it costs money. And like, it's like, start your business so you move to one level. It's like a video game. It's like, once you move to the next level, it's like, okay, new coins come out, new challenges, you get to like new information, and it's like, rules. Oh, I just learned this, new rules, new opportunities. Right, because you're further along on your journey.
Here's the sad fact: this money's out there for the taking, but people aren't taking it. And you and the others at the SBDC are willing to help people for free at no cost.
At no cost to them. The services for the SBDC are no cost to the business owner. Our program is grant funded by the Small Business Administration and the California
Office of Because they're all frustrated. We can't find it. Right? We got the money. They're not showing up. Why? Help us. SBDC and 1,000 other organizations and vet centers and stuff. Here, we, the government, will pay you money to go bring these people to us. That's how bad we want them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we're happy to do that role, to help support the people. I mean, we're here. I just had a great call today. A gentleman, one of my clients, he just got his business going. He's a sole proprietor. We've been talking. He got the business license like I told him to. He's got an EIN, so he's not using his social security number, and he secured himself a prime contract.
Employer identification number for anybody what an EIN is. He's talking military jargon again. Lots of letters and numbers and stuff here. Yeah.
Yeah, and he got himself a subcontract as well. I mean, and this all just happened over the past couple of months, and we've been talking for the past few months, and he's fired up. He's like, I wish I could tell everyone what I have going on. He does janitorial services.
Right.
So it's just a great example of someone who has, drive and courage and, stick-wittedness, like not to stop, right? Because he has some challenges that he shared with me, but he still kept going and he still followed through with the advice I gave him. And now, it's shown itself in a positive way, and he's just getting going.
And there's probably government buildings, federal, state, municipal, all the places that need janitorial services. And we're told in the law, now, when you find these people, I want so many of them to be veterans. You promised me you're going to go find some veterans. Yes, sir. And then they go out and say, calling all veterans. Nobody shows up. And then this guy's starting a business saying, man, it's hard starting a business. I'm knocking on doors. Can I help this business do your janitorial service? No, get out of here. We have somebody. Here's somebody who wants you. And we'll put you at the head of the pack if you'll just know where to go and how to show up.
Can I share one more thing, Paul? Please. Another positive in this or another lane of avenue for veterans is that in government contracting is that you can do business with a prime contractor who has a contract with the government. So for those who may say, I don't know if I can do, they may be afraid of doing business with
not big enough to handle
large
all that.
Government entity, right? Well, sell your services to another company, business to business, B2B. Sell your program management, project management, whatever skill sets, leadership, consulting to a prime contractor, be their subcontractor, help them to support the government contract.
Help
Now
them to win the contract. Hey,
help them to win the contract.
because have you got any of these categories? Women-owned, veteran-owned, and veteran. Yeah, we got some of those. Some
Exactly.
of our sub. Oh well, then you move to the head of the line here. Yeah.
And I've used that strategy myself. I haven't won yet, but that's okay. The L's are learns, they're not losses. It's like
L's
you
are
learn
learns.
something.
Oh, I
L's are
like that.
learns. They're not losses. If you go about it the right way, you're looking for what is the message
Yeah.
in this so-called loss? Like it didn't go right, but what was I supposed to learn out of it? Like, oh, that's the thing I'm supposed to learn. Don't do that again. That
Right.
part right there, don't ever do that again.
Right.
And now I know, okay, that was why I lost because I was supposed to learn that one thing. And now that I've learned it, I can go off and win now. You see the mindset?
I do. My dad, now I understand my late father, he was a veteran through and through, a bomber pilot in World War II. And he used to always drill it. He was in sales, spent his whole life in sales. And he said, when someone says no, you say, thank God for the no. I say, thank God for the no. Why? That's depressing. You said no. He said, because there's, you know that it's a game of numbers. It's a game of odds. If you get 27 no's, you'll finally get a yes or whatever it is. Whatever the ratio is. You ask 27 girls out, one of them's going to finally say yes.
Right.
And so
look at your win rate, right?
And
what
so
was the past win rate?
Yeah. So he would look at when somebody would turn him down, he'd say, thank you. I'm that much closer. I only need 26 now. 26 more no's, 25 more no's. I'm getting
It's
closer.
funny. I do
Thank
the
you.
same thing. I'm like, we've got in our organization, we got a win percentage of like 33% in another affiliation I'm with. And it's like, so I can time it based on like, okay, we need this many inbounds. I need to have this many calls. And as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in volume,
Right.
two or three of those should close, right? They
Right.
should close, so
It's the law of
and
numbers. And so if you got a no, good, I got some of those out of the way. I'm getting closer to that. Yes, it's got to be. It's a numbers game. Well,
Exactly.
this is an amazing game, and I don't think most of us know how to play it. I don't think most of us even aware that it's out there. And if we do, it's too big for us. It's too complicated. We told ourselves 1,000 reasons we can't be in this game, and yet they're waiting to bring in players just like you.
Absolutely.
Eager.
I mean,
Eager.
they're eager to bring them in.
Paying people like our friend here, go find them and teach them and recruit them. We've given up trying to find them. Here, we'll pay, in addition to paying them to do the thing in the contract, we will pay you to go teach them and train them and bring them to us.
There are so many veteran programs, and I'm happy to be working on and with a few of them. It's just new programming in new areas to get the attention of more veterans to kind of, hey, it's just like you got to keep reminding people. And at some point, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I got to look into this because like I keep hearing this. You have to find out if it works for you or not and how it may. You got to take the step. You can't not do anything, right? It's all about taking the step and with the expectation that you're going to get to the next step.
What's the motto of the Marines? Somebody said, like, it's not just adapt or die. It's sort of like, you're either moving forward or you're falling behind or whatever. There is no complacency. You don't just sit still.
Exactly. I mean, it's like water. I mean, you got to be like a current. Sitting like still water is not good.
No.
Still water draws mosquitoes and all of the other stuff that grows there, right? Fungi and all that. Moving water, like if it's a moving current in the mountains, people will drink it because they're safe. Why? Because that water, it doesn't let bad stuff sit because it flows. And money, currency flows, right?
And when it hits an obstacle, it goes around it. It goes over it.
It goes around it. Or even cuts it, depending on how the strength of the water. And I think this all speaks to energy and action and executing. As a business owner, as a professional, as a veteran, if you have a goal, well, number one, you need to make goals.
Right.
And you need to execute on them. You can't set a goal and not do anything with it, right? Mm-hmm. That's not a goal. That's a wish.
Yes.
right? If you goals are
You mean hope
actionable,
is not a strategy? I
hope
hope.
is
I
not
hope.
a hope,
Oh, come on.
hope is not a strategy.
I hope it
No,
rains tomorrow.
it's
I hope
not a
it gets better.
successful strategy.
Well, I hope people will listen to this. We've gone over our allotted time, but what a fascinating tale to tell. And I bet you have a lot more. I'd love to have you come back sometime and talk about stories of people you've helped. Maybe that would bring it into focus. But we talked about your story and how you transitioned from a gung-ho grunt into whatever you called them, the admin side, and saw the opportunity to transition and grow as a person, and you did, and now you're helping others follow that same path. I think it's an amazing story, and I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't want to contact you. How do they if they want to reach out to you?
Oh, absolutely. They can email me at troy.small@OCIESBDC.org. And they can also reach me by phone, 951-491-1200.
I hope this doesn't offend you, but we're going to have to change your name because there's nothing small about you or this program here. This is big. I think we're going to have to change your name to Big instead here.
You can always call it Biggie Smalls if you want.
Oh, I like that. See, all right. See how you adapted? You just immediately went with it, and good. Because I think this is a big thing that most, particularly veterans, are not aware of. We all hear about the struggles of veterans, high rates of horrible things, suicide, problems, PTSD, homelessness, whatever. I'm always shocked when I hear these statistics for a group that has clearly shown they can succeed in adverse situations. And it's not any shortage of the government, our collective will to help these people, but there's a disconnect somehow. We're not showing them how to do it, and they're not coming in and understanding how to do it. So it's not happening.
We need stronger liaison. There's a missing information piece, hub piece, right? There's a disconnect between when the veteran gets out and they start the rest of their life.
Right.
And quite frankly, it starts when they're in, because when you're in the service, and most veterans will tell you this, and we were talking about this before the call, is you don't get a lot of information before you leave. No. You have to pull teeth to understand what is my life going to be like.
And they
after I get out.
Veterans, I'm here over and over again, will admit we didn't think enough about that transition. You did. Most of them, hey, I got what I want. I'm having fun, and I'm in it and doing it, and I'm making money, and everything's taken care of for me. Are you saving enough? Are you planning enough? Are you ready for that next transition, or are you just living in the moment? And I think vets are trained to live in the moment and face immediate things, maybe not 20-year plans, maybe immediate action plans now.
Right. And that's where we come in. Right. That's where the resourcing comes in to help them, like, hey, you do an immediate plan, but let's get some strategy in here as well, not just tactics. Tactics are good, but they're short term. We need long-term strategies so that we're working towards a bigger goal.
Exactly.
And quite frankly, with strategy, you can see how far off you are on your goals, right? Because it's such a long-term out. You can see, oh, I'm actually veering the wrong way. So you can make small adjustments as you go about your business journey. And that's what we help with the SBDC business consultant. Our team is to really work with the veterans where they are. We meet each veteran where they are. Some are just starting. Many are actually kind of well off on their journey. But whether it be business planning, strategy, expansion, international sales, the OCIE SBDC is an enormous resource, and I wish that.
And you're one of those rare consultants that works out of two centers, so they can find you through the way out in the Coachella Valley. Even though you don't live out in the Coachella Valley, you're somewhere in between the Coachella Valley and here and us in Orange County. You're like in Marietta.
Yeah.
So you work for that center with all clients who want help from starting a business and growing a business and doing all these things and taking it to the next level. And then specifically with this contracting center that's based out of Riverside, I believe. And
the Center for Contracting for SBDC, I'm a part of that team as well. Yes.
Okay, 2 ways to get to. No reason not to do it. Call today, find out more, and follow the path. Be like water. Flow.
Follow the path.
Go.
This was great, Paul. I'm looking forward. Hopefully I can be back again.
All right. Appreciate it. All right. Hang on afterwards. I got a few other questions to ask you here, but another example of why we got to talk about all this, because this is how profit talks. As we conclude another episode of the Profit Talks podcast, we hope we've empowered your entrepreneurial spirit. Reach out to us to connect with our experts, and let's take your business to the next level. Keep those dreams alive, keep pushing forward, and stay tuned for more. And if you liked what you heard in today's podcast and you want your business to reach new heights, just contact us at profittalkspodcast.org or call us at 1-800-616-7232. That's 1-800-616-7232. So until next time, keep thriving.